Hi there, I'm Adeline and it is so nice to meet you. Welcome to the 47th Celebrity Synastry chart reading where we will be covering SZA and Drake. For those new and returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal planets, signs, aspects, and of birth times available house overlays. I also add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. Feel free to leave your own in the comments below. Before we start this reading, give this video a like and subscribe for more celebrity synastry chart readings from me. Let's get into it. Starting with the sun, both of their sun signs are in Scorpio, so it's either a satisfying or destructive relationship. They are attached and obsessed with each other and potentially get married quickly. I don't believe they ever were married at all. I don't even know engaged, but we'll see more as the reading goes on. SZA's sun in Drake's third house overlaid. It's a comfortable atmosphere. SZA thinks Drake is brilliant. They enjoy talking about their days, and SZA thinks Drake is predictable. Drake feels smarter around SZA, and SZA sees Drake as someone with good common sense. Drake's sun overlaid in SZA's ninth house. They teach the other. I assume this would be more from Drake's, and just with what we saw, that he seems to be the more smarter and more brilliant one, but we'll see more. It's a relationship of mental stimulation, and they both influence the other to be more culturally aware. I'm not sure in what way it would be. SZA's sun, Trine Drake's moon. There's honest communication and SZA relies on Drake's support and Drake relies on SZA's wisdom. So I guess they both see each other as, the more smarter, the more wiser one. It's a naturally cooperative relationship and Drake tends to be dependent on SZA. Both feel they can rely on each other. I definitely see that thus far. SZA's sun conjunct Drake's Venus. There's mutual respect and admiration, definitely intelligence-wise. It's an accepting relationship and they share common interests. We see again the commonality. Financially lucky people, definitely. SZA encourages Drake's creativity. SZA feels more beautiful around Drake and Drake finds SZA charming and intriguing. SZA's sun trine Drake's Jupiter. They will overdo together. They are good travel companions. Possibility of unpredictability. I assume this would be on SZA's side because we saw that she sees Drake as a bit more predictable, so I assume it's the other way around then. Drake boosts SZA's confidence, we just saw. Both have a desire to make the other happy. Positive mutual respect will be maintained if they separate. So as far as I know, they used to be together, they're not together currently. So I assume they do have mutual respect now for each other. Drake gives SZA the benefit of the doubt frequently. Drake's sun sextile SZA's Venus. They really love each other. SZA boosts Drake's ego. So it seems like intellectually wise and I guess appearance wise, if that makes sense, they are pretty equal. It seems like they both boost each other's confidence physically. Drake feels adored by SZA and they both have a desire for cooperation and harmony. Drake's sun conjunct SZA's Mars. They respect each other and they energize each other. There's a physical connection, definitely with boosting each other's physical appearance. It seems like they both see the other as their type and Drake sees SZA as too defensive. SZA sees Drake as too judgmental and they challenge and frustrate each other. So we're starting to see a bit more negative aspects. Drake's sun sextile SZA's Uranus. They start as friends and it's a relationship of freedom. They enjoy intellectual conversations together. We see repeated and frequent changes occur. Drake is attracted to SZA's originality. Both encourage the other to be themselves. I definitely see that. Thus far they seem to be generally similar people on the same page at least. Both have a strong attraction to the other. We are seeing that repeated. Drake finds SZA to be inspiring and exciting, and Drake may feel threatened by SZA's lack of limits. Interesting. Relationship works best when both encourage the other's independence. This is an interesting take, but just popped into my head. Potentially their relationship is pretty decent since they are not attached to each other, if that makes sense, because they are separated. So now it's time for moon. We have SZA's moon in Pisces and Drake's moon in Cancer. These are both water signs. They understand each other very well and there's a strong attachment to each other. I kind of see that. I mean, so far we're seeing a bit more in Drake's, but I feel like they generally seem to, be cool with each other. They communicate non-verbally and it is good to regularly retreat as a couple. We did see the good travel companions, so potentially they did travel together a lot just to retreat and get a break. It's a tender and thoughtful relationship. SZA's moon overlaid in Drake's 7th house. It's an accepting atmosphere. I see that. SZA feels secure with Drake and they complement each other well, meaning their personalities, not physical compliments. They want to be together frequently and Drake likes SZA's quirks. Drake finds SZA enjoyable and Drake wants to support SZA. Drake's moon in SZA's 6th house overlaid. Drake has conflicting feelings towards SZA. So far, the only thing we saw that could potentially be conflicting is he doesn't seem to like her need for freedom, but elsewhere it's fine for the moment. Can be beneficial if working towards a mutual goal. Potentially because they are both in the music industry, they have potential, they have made music together or they should be making music together. Both are too helpful to each other and it is easy to create a resentful relationship. I mean, we did so far, most things we've been seeing so far are pretty positive, but we did see in the beginning it potentially could be destructive. Their moon signs are trine together, so there's a desire to nurture each other and they are sensitive to each other's needs. Long-term or marriage, we see the marriage thing again, interesting. They share similar tastes and they feel comfortable and safe together. Enjoy creating a home together. This could relate to the marriage thing and just generally living together. Family plays an important part in their relationship. Again, could be marriage related, but if they could just be potentially people that confide in each other about their families. Possibility of being too accommodating to each other. Interesting, we see this repeated. And there's a tendency to avoid hurting each other. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry chart readings on my Etsy store. I do both basic and detailed ones. The basic ones are a bit more simple to understand and really good for those just beginning out in astrology, getting their heads around it, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed readings are very similar to what I do here, so it's a lot of it just with my insights and interpretation on the chart. So if you're interested in that and everything else, astrology and tarot, readings and gifts, definitely check out my Etsy store for that. I'm always releasing new other things there as well. And you can even just favorite the store just to support me for free. Thank you for listening and let's get back to the reading. SZA's moon trine Drake's Venus. There's mutual appreciation and it's easy to compromise. I assume it would be easy to compromise if they are willing to accommodate to each other. They seem to be very good at accommodating that. There's natural affection and they're a social couple, supportive of each other during conflict and they appreciate art together. They do kind of make similar music like that pop hip hop style. SZA's moon conjunct Drake's Jupiter. It's easy to overdo and be excessive. I believe we see this again. It's a relationship of opportunities and fortune. They have a positive influence as a couple and they need to learn balance. They take risks as a couple. Interesting. I wonder where. SZA feels more lucky and adventurous around Drake and they support people in need together. I'm not sure if they ever did that together. Potentially they support similar charities if they're not. Drake expands SZA's way of thinking about life. Potentially just considering this aspect, I believe Drake did break through in the industry a lot earlier than SZA did. So potentially SZA or Drake helped her a lot in that, thus feeling more luckier around Drake and expanding her way of life. SZA's moon square Drake's Saturn. SZA feels emotionally insecure. There's a possibility of an awkward relationship. I mean, the only thing I could potentially see as awkward here, although we have seen a lot of like physical attraction, to me this reading so far has read as friends that are attracted to each other. I mean, we did see the whole thing with Drake being a bit threatened by SZA's lack of limits, but we saw that once. So far, that's what I'm getting. SZA feels judged by Drake. I believe we see this repeated. Drake sees SZA as needy and oversensitive. SZA's moon squared Drake's Uranus. SZA is possessive of Drake, so this is once now repeated on her end. Their relationship can begin suddenly. I find it interesting that we saw they could get married suddenly together, and now we're seeing this. I don't believe they have gotten married, so that's not really an issue or anything we have to really consider. But it's interesting that relationship can begin suddenly. It seems like they went into a serious relationship very quickly. SZA feels emotionally insecure around Drake. We see again. SZA's moon trine Drake's Pluto. It's an intense meeting. Generally, this relationship has some intense points to it. They both will need to let go of fake personas. Potentially, because as I said, so far from what I'm seeing this, I feel these are more friends. but potentially they just got into serious discussions very quickly. We did see that they potentially confide in each other about family. So I assume with what we're seeing so far, I feel like they met each other and very quickly had a very strong bond. They both bring truth and change in social and political areas together. This is interesting because it's repeated again, so I wonder what they do. Involved in organizations together. I mean, they kind of are in, as I said, in a similar genre that kind of is an organization. Maybe they share the same record label, can go through difficulties together. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I feel like it's serious in the way they really relied on each other a lot. They confided in each other. They can solve problems in the community, and they both can transform each other. Drake's moon, Trine, SZA's Mercury. They're comfortable talking to each other about everything. We have been seeing that. It's a harmonious relationship. I believe this also has been repeated. SZA enjoys being emotionally nourished by Drake. SZA provides a foundation for Drake's feelings, and Drake is comfortable expressing his feelings with SZA. Another place where it could be potentially awkward, because we did see she feels a bit more insecure around him already a couple times. Potentially he is very much taking advantage of that, and SZA kind of takes the back burner in that. She's not able to express herself as much, and she doesn't feel as emotionally nourished. Drake's moon conjunct SZA's Jupiter, so this is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So everything from before is emphasized, but also Drake feels luckier and more advantageous around SZA, and SZA expands Drake's way of thinking about life. Potentially, maybe they entered the industry together then, if this aspect is repeated. Maybe they sort of went into this whole thing together. Drake's moon opposite SZA's Saturn, attracted to each other because of their different views. I wonder what their different views are, because so far we have seen they are pretty similar in that, so both have something the other needs. Interesting. SZA tries to influence Drake, and it's a difficult emotional connection. I see that. I feel like Drake is a bit more able to be emotionally nourished here, where SZA not so much. SZA sees Drake as needy and immature. I mean, yeah, I don't blame her. If he's being very emotionally taken care of by her, I can see why she would see that as being needy and immature, because he doesn't allow her to have that space with him, if that makes sense. SZA needs to accept Drake's need for intimacy, and Drake needs to be more independent from SZA. So that whole element of Drake being too attached to SZA is repeated. SZA's moon opposite Drake's Neptune. They negatively influence each other, and they misunderstand each other's signals. SZA doesn't fit with Drake's vision of her. I see that from the emotional side, definitely. Drake clings to SZA. He's now starting to get a bit weird. With what we're seeing so far, he kind of seems to like rely on her as a sort of like therapist type person, if that makes sense. Like, he goes to her, sort of, you know, gets everything off his chest, feels better, but he doesn't feel like to reciprocate that. And it seems like he just kind of wants her to stay in that position. Drake makes SZA feel safe, and they may lose themselves in each other. Both feel guilt when they are separated, and it's difficult to define boundaries. Okay, interesting. Drake's moon trines SZA's Pluto. This is a repeated aspect, so just inverted. So everything from before is emphasized further. So now it's time for Mercury. We have SZA's Mercury in Scorpio. So now it's time for Mercury. Both their Mercury signs are in Scorpio, so they prioritize their feelings and emotions. Definitely Drake. Both are invested in this relationship. I see that. I really can't deny that on both ends. They understand the other's intuitive approach to life, and they nurture each other. Definitely on SZA's end. They are both sensitive and take things personally. SZA's Mercury in Drake's third house overlaid. SZA is more chatty around Drake, and Drake will enjoy conversations with SZA, and SZA enjoys long conversations with Drake. I feel like this is going back to their sort of intellectual connection. Drake's Mercury in SZA's 10th house overlaid. Hard to talk about things outside of goals and career. They're a public couple. I mean, we already have seen this a couple times, like the public, the social element, especially the part of them like being involved in organizations together and helping people together. I wonder where that is, because as far as I know, they're not really known for that. They're not really associated with each other that much either. SZA may be fascinated by Drake, and SZA tends to idolize Drake. We did see before how SZA doesn't match Drake's vision of her, So it seems like both of them seem to really idolize each other. I have to assume this is just based on physical attraction because we do see that here. Possibly a one-sided relationship. I mean, I hate to say it, with what we're seeing so far on the emotional side, it's definitely SZA's. They may like to work together. So I have to assume based off this, they do work together in the music scene. SZA's Mercury conjunct Drake's Venus. There's flowing communication, enjoy the same movies and music. I mean, same music, you would hope so. They share mutual friends, they participate in social activities together. We see again. SZA helps Drake verbalize his feelings. I'm not obsessed with this, just with what we've seen so far. Drake enjoys conversations with SZA, so I'm glad we're seeing that they do enjoy talking to each other. SZA's Mercury trine Drake's Jupiter. Drake is enthusiastic about SZA's thoughts and ideas. There's a strong friendship and they have positive and inspiring conversations. SZA helps Drake with self-expression. We're seeing again. Interesting. Drake introduces SZA to new ways of thinking, and this is repeated. So I'm glad that at least Drake is really helping her with something. Not necessarily emotionally, it seems like more like career-wise and just general development. There's an optimistic meeting, and Drake can be too lenient with SZA. Enjoy traveling together, we see again. Business together is advantageous. They come from different cultures. This is interesting because we did see before they make each other more culturally aware. As far as I know, SZA is an African-American woman from the United States, and then you have Drake. I believe he's of some Middle Eastern descent from Canada. So as far as I know, in those terms, I feel like that's where they would have the difference to make each other more culturally aware, but definitely let me know what you think in the comments and correct me if need be. So now it's time for Venus. We have SZA's Venus in Capricorn and Drake's Venus in Scorpio. Drake boosts SZA's ego, we see again. They find each other intriguing and it's a stimulating relationship. Drake appreciates SZA's loyalty. I mean, I'm just not obsessed with this because it seems like SZA is kind of getting insecure in the process. Their individual strong personalities cause tension. They see past each other's built up walls and neither are disappointed here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying here. I feel like they have a deep relationship in terms of being each other's confidants in a way. SZA's Venus in Drake's 5th house overlaid. SZA sees Drake as perfect. Going back to how she idolizes him. SZA is forgiving of Drake's faults. And I mean, I have to assume his faults being he doesn't allow her to be as expressive. Drake appreciates the admiration from SZA. I'm sure he does. And Drake may take advantage of SZA. I kind of see that. Not in the worst way possible, but he does. They're both satisfied here. Drake's Venus overlaid in SZA's 9th house. They have shared interests from what we saw. It is the music and movies. They may share the same social circles we see again. They get along well together and Drake has a friendly approach to SZA. SZA is accepting of Drake, we see again. Drake teaches SZA how to have fun and SZA sees Drake as someone she has a future with. Going back to the general seriousness of their relationship, like the whole marriage thing, the whole long-term thing. SZA's Venus conjunct Drake's Neptune. SZA is sensitive to Drake's needs. We're kind of seeing again. SZA sees Drake as a soulmate. Oh, I kind of feel bad for her in a way because she seems to be so dedicated to him and like he does in a way, but I don't feel like he fully satisfies her. Dreamy energy when they meet, and SZA finds Drake very attractive, which is repeated. SZA may project her ideals onto Drake, going back to her, literally idolizing him. Drake initially encourages SZA to have an idolized image of him. Over time, Drake feels pressure to keep up with SZA's image of him. Man, Drake may ghost SZA. That's not very nice. I mean, that's kind of sucky if they have this very serious, deep, meaningful relationship. SZA appreciates Drake's imagination, and SZA needs to learn to look past Drake's faults. I mean, there's some faults she definitely shouldn't look past, but I assume this would be more in reference to the sort of like faults that don't match her vision, if that makes sense. Not a practical relationship, and it's a spiritual magical meeting. I wonder how they met, because we're seeing a lot of like, it seems to be generally like very optimistic magical meeting. Drake is easily charmed by SZA. I believe we did see that he sees her as very charming and intriguing. SZA's Venus sextile Drake's Pluto. They are consumed by each other. It's unlikely to go stale and routine. It's emotionally fulfilling, definitely on Drake's end. SZA sees Drake as irresistible, and they both see disagreements as a way to understand the other person more. That's nice. Drake's Venus conjuncts SZA's Pluto. Intensity constantly deepens, so the intense element is definitely here. Manipulation of the other can occur. I kind of see this as being karmic. Like, there are definitely elements of that here. There's a strong pull to each other, and they have a deep emotional tie, and SZA can read Drake. Going back to this whole sort of thing, that they're very intuitive with each other, again, it seems to be more on SZA's end. So now it's time for Mars. We have SZA's Mars in Scorpio and Drake's Mars in Aquarius. These are both fixed signs. Drake is too detached for SZA. I see that, but at the same time, I feel like he's just attached in terms of he's not giving a lot to her emotionally. They conflict as both are dominant, and SZA is possessive of Drake, we see again. They experiment with the taboo together. SZA's Mars in Drake's third house overlaid. SZA is more blunt around Drake, and Drake may intimidate SZA. I don't feel like this would be in a bad way necessarily. I feel like we do see she seems to be very attracted to him, so in that sort of way. Drake is sensitive to SZA's intensity. Drake's Mars overlaid in SZA's first house. Drake inspires SZA to be more brave, and SZA has a desire to seduce Drake. Drake encourages SZA to be proud of who she is, and Drake is blunt with SZA. I'm glad they're both blunt with each other. That's always good. But like, just from what we're seeing in this aspect, I feel like Drake does want to see SZA succeed and be a bit more independent, if that makes sense. Like, you know, because he doesn't seem to be overly attached to her. In terms of, he doesn't seem to want a very serious relationship with him. I feel like every sort of intense, serious thing we have seen in this relationship seems to come more from SZA. I mean, we have seen this is a one-sided relationship, so adds up. Both their Mars signs are squared together, so there's a lack of basic understanding of each other. They push each other, and it's difficult long-term. I would say it will be difficult long-term, yeah. SZA's Mars sextile Drake's Neptune. Drake fantasizes about SZA being dominant, which I kind of adds up because he does seem to be, like, SZA seems to be a lot more in control of this relationship in terms of she provides a lot for Drake, and she seems to be a lot more invested. SZA is captivated by Drake, and SZA sees Drake as spineless. I mean, we did say she sees him as like needy and immature, so adds up. Relationship seems unbalanced to outsiders. Definitely seems unbalanced to me. I actually am really fascinated to know why, like what happened here, because this is a very interesting relationship. SZA's Mars conjunct Drake's Pluto. It's competitive. Drake brings depth, definitely not emotionally, maybe like intellectually so. There's power struggles. I mean, we did see the whole like dominance thing, but it seems like not so much. Nothing in this reading reads to me as Drake having some sort of like masculinity issues where he is threatened by SZA's dominance. Their fights can be big, and they are both likely to transform here. I mean, from what I'm understanding from this reading, like timeline-wise, this feels like a relationship before fame, because we did see how Drake sort of opens up SZA to new ways of thinking and everything and inspires her. So I would have to assume would be indicative of Drake inspiring SZA to get into the industry, if that makes sense. And if that is the case, they both very well did transform here. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this, if you guys have interpreted this one a bit differently. This one was definitely a bit more of an interesting reading, because as far as I know, like, I don't even know how serious their relationship was, and I feel like it was a bit of a good mix of everything, if that makes sense. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about these two. And if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing. I post these videos weekly. And besides that, give this video a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!